Hey, what's going on, you guys? It's Tobey's Talk Show. This is episode number 40, and today we are back with an NFL video. So I haven't done an NFL video in a long time. I've been focusing on, the bubble since that's been going on. The NFL, not that much has been going on. A few signings here and there, a few contract extensions. But as you guys are seeing this video, the NFL is finally back, and today we are going to watch the Chiefs and Texans go at it, Watson versus Mahomes. So that should be a pretty good game. I'm excited. I'm just happy that the NFL is back. NFL football is always great. Red zone's my favorite time on a Sunday. Sitting back watching 7 hours of commercial-free football. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be looking at all 32 teams, kind of giving them a brief analysis on all, giving my predictions for those teams, and also I'll be talking about NFL awards and my predictions for those. And so in 8, 9, 10 months we could look back at that, and hopefully maybe I'll get them right, and hopefully just we're not saying I wish the NFL season was canceled because of COVID. So, let's jump right into it with the Arizona Cardinals. So, the Arizona Cardinals are an interesting team because they're in a very, very hard division. And, in the NFL, if you're the first in your division, you automatically make the playoffs. It's a little different than the NBA. Obviously, if you're the first in your division in the NBA, you most likely have a very good record and you'll make the playoffs. But in the NFL, you get a free, slot into the playoffs and a top 4 seed. So the Arizona Cardinals, they're in a very, very tough division with the 49ers, the Seahawks, and the Rams. And, all those teams could have pretty good years, and we'll discuss each of them separately. But, I don't want to make this video too long, so I'll just give a brief analysis, maybe a record prediction, and we'll move on. So with the Cardinals, they're an interesting team. They traded for They traded for DeAndre Hopkins, and that was obviously the trade of free agency. And I think Kyler Murray, he's going to have a very good second year. I think he has a lot of potential and a lot of talent. And I think this will be a big leap for him. I think he'll be a better passer this year. And he'll use his speed to his advantage like he did last year. Maybe even run a little more. Maybe run a little less, be cautious. But, having a dual threat quarterback in this NFL, it's important. And, the Cardinals have that. And if Kyler Murray could make that big step, I think the Cardinals could be a very good team. You have Andy Isabella, you have DeAndre Hopkins, you still have Fitz, Christian Kirk. So they have a very good wide receiving corps. They have a very good quarterback. Kenyon Drake showed that he could be, a top 10, 15 running back in the league. And so I think the Cardinals offense is looking very good. They needed some offensive line help and they instead took Isaiah Simmons, which you can't really be mad at. So the only worry I have on the offensive side is their O-line. And then on the defensive side, they're looking pretty good. Cornerbacks, Patrick Pete, they're, kind of weak after that. But, with Isaiah Simmons, Buda Baker, they have a pretty good defense. I think they have a pretty good year. I'm going to guess that they'll probably go 7-9, 8-8, probably not make the playoffs, but they'll be a lot better than they were last year, and I think they'll only get better. The next team is the Atlanta Falcons. We're going to do the NFC teams, then the AFC teams. So the Atlanta Falcons, they've kind of been average since the Super Bowl. They've kind of been a 7-9, 8-8 team, and that's okay. But obviously as a Atlanta Hawks. Jesus, I'm not on my game today. But as an Atlanta Falcons fan, you expect a little more, especially with Matt Ryan, who's a great quarterback, and Julio Jones, who's, in my opinion, the best wide receiver in the game. So they still have that connection. Calvin Ridley is getting better. Todd Gurley's there, and I think he could have a really good year for them. I think he may surprise a lot of people. They got their center back. Their O-line's, it's pretty average, I would say. And on the defensive side, they're a little weak. They've always been injury prone, that defense. But I think the Falcons could have a really, really good year. I think they could surprise people, but I'm not going to one that's going to take that leap of a prediction. I'm going to have them also going around 7-9, 8-8. I think that's a pretty fair prediction for them. I just think, they kind of missed their opportunity with the Super Bowl against the Patriots, 28-3. But, maybe they could climb back into that contention. I just don't see it with the team they have built right now. The next team we have is the Carolina Panthers. And, the Panthers are an interesting team. They signed Teddy Bridgewater. They signed Robbie Anderson. They're not the best team. Obviously, McCaffrey's there. O-line, I didn't understand that the Turner trade on the offensive line. And, I think they're like a pretty below average team. I just don't think Teddy Bridgewater's a top quarterback in the league. I don't even think he's a top half quarterback in the league. Obviously, with the Saints, it's a little easier. They have a lot of weapons. And I think the Panthers don't have as many weapons. Obviously, C-Mac's having a great year. And that defense is also not the best. So I'm gonna have them going 4-12, 5-10, or 5-11. And yeah, so that's my prediction for the Panthers. I just think they're not the best team. Teddy Bridgewater is new. They don't have the greatest weapons. The Curtis Samuel's there, and they're pretty good, but I just don't see them doing that much. Chicago Bears. So Trubisky, he got that quarterback role, but they just don't have a great quarterback there, and you need to have a good quarterback to be a good team. Unless you're like the Jaguars in 2017, whose defense was just superior. And with the Bears, their defense is still there. They added Robert Quinn, which was a nice pickup, but their running backs, Montgomery and Conway, not the best. And the wide receiver corps didn't really get that much better, so their offense is still a big liability for them, and that's why I just don't think they're going to do well this year. And I'll have them going 6-10. I think Trubisky will be gone, and they'll look at a quarterback this offseason. The next team is the Dallas Cowboys, and if you guys don't know, I am a huge Knicks fan. And obviously I like the NBA a lot better, but I still like my Cowboys. I know it's weird to say as a New Yorker that I like my Cowboys. I was just a Tony Romo fan when I was younger, and it stuck with me. So the Cowboys are a very interesting team. They added CD. Their O-line got a little bit weaker, but they were the best O-line in the league a few years ago. So they're still a top 10, 15 O-line in the league. Their offense is stellar. Their defense, on the other hand, the safeties are a little weak. Xavier Woods, they just dropped HaHa Clinton Dix, so I don't know what they're going to do with the strong safety. Maybe they'll sign Earl Thomas, but there's no news on that yet. The linebackers are pretty good. You have Joe Thomas, Jalen Smith, Leighton Vander Esch. Their D-line's pretty solid. They signed Everson Griffin. The cornerbacks are a little weak, especially with the departure of Byron Jones. So I think the defense may stand in the way a little bit, but especially with the weak division that they're in, I think they'll make the playoffs. I think they'll win the division. I have them going 8-8. No, I'm just kidding. That's just for the jokes. I actually have them going 9-7, 10-6, around there, and I think they'll win the division. No 8-8 for the Cowboys this year, at least what I think. The next team's the Detroit Lions. Matt Stafford was hurt last year, and that obviously hurt their team a little bit. I guess a lot of it because Jeff Driscoll is definitely not a good quarterback. Kenny Galladay is emerging as one of the top wide receivers. And you still have Marvin Jones there, so the wide receivers aren't that terrible, and still Danny Amendola. The O-line's it's okay. There are a few holes, but they have a few strong suits on that O-line. The running back room there is a little confusing because you have a lot of running backs, especially with the signing of AP. You have 3-4 starting running backs in there, so I don't know what they're going to do with that. With Swift, Johnson, Peterson, and I guess Bo Scarborough. So I don't know. I just think the offense is a little. It's not superior. And the defense side of the ball, they signed Desmond Trufant, and they have Okuda there. So their cornerbacks are pretty good, but I'm not a fan of their safeties. Linebackers need a lot of help on the Lions, and their D-line it's pretty good. But they're not going to be a good team. They're in a pretty tough division with the Packers and Vikings. So I have them going 5-10, or well, my math is really not well today, but 5-11, 6-10. That's what I think they'll be around. Just because they have a few great pieces, but besides that, it's not that strong. And so yeah, the next team's the Green Bay Packers. They obviously need a wide receiving help, and they just didn't get that, and that may hurt a lot, especially on the offensive side of the ball. But you still have Devontae Adams. I think Lazard could take a nice jump. You still have Aaron Jones. You have Dylan, and you have I forgot the other running back that they had. Oh, Jamal Williams. So they have a nice running back room. Aaron Rodgers is still a pretty good quarterback. He's kind of declining a little bit, and people aren't really seeing that. But he's still a great quarterback in the league nonetheless. The wide receiver corps, they should have got another receiver, but it's not terrible, especially with Adams there. O-line is kind of getting older, but it's still pretty good. But the defense side of the ball is also pretty good. You can't, the Packers are just always a good team. Aaron Rodgers will always help that offense and bring them up better than they should be. And the Smiths there, they really helped their team last year, and the Packers defense was a lot better than people predicted them to be. And you have Jair Alexander there, so they have a pretty good defense. I like their team a lot. I think they'll go 10-6, maybe 11-5, and I think they'll probably be the best team in their division. The next team we have is the Los Angeles Rams. So the Rams, they're interesting. They lost Gurley, so their running back, I don't love the running back room, especially with Cam Akers. I don't know, I'm not a fan of that. And their wide receiving corps is getting a little old. Robert Woods is getting older, but he's still fine. Cooper Kupp is there. He's really good. They lost Brandon Cooks, which may hurt. But they still have Higbee, and Higbee is becoming a nice tight end in the league. Their O-line's a little rough, and Jared Goff underperformed last year. And on the defense side of the ball, Jalen Ramsey's there, but some piece on that Rams defense is a little overpaid, and just not that strong. They lost Roby Coleman. And so, the defense isn't that strong. I think Jared Goff is going to underperform once again. So I have the Rams going like 6-10, 7-9. The next team I have is the Minnesota Vikings. So the Vikings are going to be a good team this year. I think, I think Stephon Diggs was a big piece of that offense, but I think Justin Jefferson could fill his place. Maybe not the same production, but he's a pretty good wide receiver. And obviously he's a rookie, so you can give him time. Adam Thielen's still there. Dalvin Cook's still there. Kirk Cousins played great in the playoffs last year. So, that Vikings team is still pretty strong on the offense side of the ball. And the defense side of the ball, they lost Everson Griffin. But they traded, their D-line is still looking nice. I forgot who they traded for, but they just traded for someone, I think, or signed someone to replace him. So that defensive line is looking really good still. Kendricks has been playing great as of late. And, the cornerbacks, not the best, not the worst. And the safeties, I like their safeties a lot. And so I think the 49ers are going to have a pretty good year. They're pretty good on the offense side of the ball, and I think they'll be pretty solid on the defense side of the ball. I think a little bit of underrated defense. So I have them going 9-7. And I think they'll be second division and will probably slide into, one of the wild card playoff spots. The next team we have is the Saints. The Saints are going to be great this year. You can't really complain about them. Amazing offense. Kamara, Thomas. I think Emmanuel Sanders is going to really help that offense. They didn't really have that second wide receiver. Now they do. Drew Brees is still a great quarterback in the league. And the defense side of the ball, they got help with, I forgot how to say his name, but Ruiz from Michigan as a center, so the O-line got beefed up a little bit. And Marshawn Lattimore's on that defense with Cam Jordan, Demario Davis. So they still have a great team on the offensive defense side of the ball, and they'll probably go 12-4. Great offensively, defensively, nothing much to say besides the Saints. So a really well-run organization. And now for the Giants. The Giants, they added some nice pieces. James Bradbury, people were saying he was a little overpaid, but I don't really have a problem with that. They had the money to spend. I think Andrew Thomas is going to help their team a lot. Hopefully help Daniel Jones with his fumbles because they didn't have the greatest O-line last year. And I think the Giants should focus on a wide receiver next year's draft. They won't be a great team this year, let's be honest. And I think, Darius Slayton's a great wide receiver, but I see him more as a 2. So getting that number 1 guy, obviously I'm saying Julio, Michael Thomas, but getting that number 1 sole guy that could really help their team, especially with Daniel Jones. And obviously Saquon's still there. Offensive line still has a few issues. Defensive side of the ball, they lost McKinney, which kind of hurt their team a lot because he was a really great pickup for them, I thought. Their D-line got worse. Linebackers aren't the best. I think Blake Martinez was a solid pickup. They're kind of like remind me of the Knicks. Like they have these nice, veteran guys, but nothing special. So I have them going, 6-10, and not making much noise. So for the Philadelphia Eagles, as a Cowboys fan, I don't like saying this, but I thought they could be very good this year. I think with the 2 injuries they just sustained with their left tackle and Brandon Brooks, that's really going to hurt them. And especially their wide receiving corps is a little bit injury prone, but Carson Wentz shown that he could carry that offense. Miles Sanders, I think, is going to have a breakout year. He showed how good he could be last year, and I think he'll continue doing that. I just think the Eagles need some wide receiver help. Their offensive line's got very injury prone. They brought back Jason Peters, but he's not what he used to be. And on the defense side of the ball, I think Darius Slay is going to really help that secondary. They lost Malcolm Jenkins, which may hurt a little bit. But I think the Eagles will still be a solid team, especially with Carson Wentz being healthy. And I think they'll go 9-7, 10-6. The next team, the 49ers. So the 49ers, they're going to be a very good team this year. They didn't really lose and gain a lot of pieces. Not much movement. They lost some of their running backs with Breida gone. But besides that, their offense is pretty much intact. They added Brandon Ayuk, who I think will be great for them. And they traded for the left tackle Trent Williams. So I think they'll be very good this year again. I don't really see a decline in that team. I mean, they're going to go 12-4, 13-3. Bosa's going to get better. That team's pretty young, and they'll just keep getting better. So I don't see any decline in the 49ers. I think they'll continue to be a good team. The Seahawks, again, they'll also be a good team. I'm going to try to hurry this up. I know it's a long video. Jamal Adams, I think that was a great acquire. I think 2 first-round picks may be a little too much. But I think the Seahawks, they're going to go all in. I think Russell Wilson could have an MVP-type year. And, yeah, I think that the Seahawks, they didn't really add a lot of pieces. They signed Josh Gordon back. And, that team is pretty much still intact. I think they'll be a pretty good team again. 11-5, 12-4 is my guess. The Bucks, they're the team of the offseason. They signed, Gronk, Fournette, Brady. Great trio. That offense is going to be really, really good. I like the worst draft. I think that was a good pick. Worst pick. I should say not worst draft. But, there's going to be really good. Let's be real. The defense is underrated also. Barrett, was a monster last year. That team's going to be very, very good, especially when you have Brady. Brady always makes the team better. So expect them, maybe I don't think they'll have the best regular season, but they'll make some noise in the playoffs. I think they'll go 10-6, 11-5. And with the Washington football team, let's be real. They're not that good. It is what it is. They're rebuilding. They'll probably go for a quarterback or wide receiver in this year's draft class. They're going to go 2-14. Their whole organization's a mess right now, and that includes the players on the field. The Ravens, they lost Earl Thomas. Now I'm on the AFC teams. Obviously, they lost Earl Thomas, which may hurt them a lot. But that team's pretty much still intact. They didn't lose that many big pieces, so expect them to go their usual 12-4, 13-3. Lamar's going to keep getting better. That offense, I think Hollywood Brown could become a pretty good wide receiver for Lamar. So expect them to go 12. So now I'm on the AFC teams. So with the Baltimore Ravens, besides Earl Thomas, they didn't lose that many pieces. I like the Calais Campbell trade. I think Hollywood Brown could become a very good receiver for Lamar. So I had them going their usual 13-3, maybe even 14-2. They're going to be very good this year once again. Okay, so with the Buffalo Bills, they're an interesting team. I think their defense continues to get better. Their offense got a lot better. I think Stephon Diggs is going to really help that offense, giving them their number one receiver. Help Josh Allen out a lot. I have them going 10-6. I think they'll be the best team in that division finally. And the defense is really, really good. I think Stephon Diggs is really going to help that offense. With the Bengals, they're young. Joe Burrow is his first year in the league. Their offensive line is really horrendous, so they're going to have some issues there. So I just think they won't be a great team. They don't have that many great pieces on that team. Obviously, they were the worst team in the league last year. They probably won't be the worst team this year, but they'll be pretty bad. I expect them to go 3-13, 4-12. Cleveland Browns, they didn't really add a lot of pieces. Grant Delpit got hurt, their pick, who I thought could really help them out. They signed Myles Garrett back. They drafted the tackle, Wills Jr. I think that could help their O-line a lot. I think they could have a bounce back year, but I don't think they'll be great. I'm going to predict them to go 8-8, 9-7. Not that many movements from them. And I think Baker Mayfield will still underperform. Denver Broncos. As I'm recording this, Von Miller got hurt last night. It sucks to hear. I love Von. I thought the Broncos have a very good year. I think Drew Lock could be a good receiver for them. Their wide receiver corps is really, really good. I like it a lot with Judy and Sutton and KJ. Their O-line's not that good, but I think Noah Fant could have a great year this year, a second sophomore year. And that that defense is really good. I know Von Miller just got hurt, which sucks, but Justin Miller and Bradley Chubb are great, great players, young players. So I had a lot of hope. I think the Broncos could still go 8-8, but I think with Von Miller, they had a chance to go 9-7. Houston Texans, obviously the loss of Hopkins is going to hurt. I don't really love their receiving corps right now. I think Watson could obviously make them look a lot better than they probably are, which will help. But I don't know. I think they'll be, a pretty good team, but not great, especially with the loss of Hopkins. I think that's really going to hurt Watson. O-line's still not the best. And defense, it's getting older as we speak and a little injury prone. So I like McKinney. But safeties, they're pretty good. But I don't know. I'm not a great fan of the Houston Texans this year. I think they'll be 8-8, 9-7 this year. I just really think that loss of Hopkins is going to hurt. I don't really see a bounce back year from David Johnson. The Colts, they signed Phillip Rivers this year. I kind of like that pickup. I think they could really help their team. A lot of people are kind of, I think, overrating them, saying that they could make it far in the playoffs, could go 10-6, 11-5. I don't really see that from them. I guess them going 8-8, 9-7. They have a pretty good receiving corps. The O-line's really good. Jack Doyle's still there. I don't really like that, but it's fine. He's whatever. Um, they have a really good running back room, even though it's kind of filled up. And that defense is still pretty good. I think Darius Leonard's really, really good. And yeah, I think they have a lot to look forward to on that team, but not yet. I just think Philip Rivers isn't the greatest quarterback to lift up that team. But I think they could go 8-8, 9-7. They could probably make some noise to contend for a playoff spot. The Jaguars, not really much to say about them. They're going to be the worst team in the league this year. They're fully tanking. We all understand that. They're going to get Trevor Lawrence. Good for them. They're going to restart. Finally get a good quarterback on that team. So they're going to probably go 0-16, 1-15. We saw it. They traded or waived everyone. And yeah, that's it for the Jaguars. Okay, the next team is the Chiefs. The Chiefs, I think they only lost Breland. And for that reason, I think, even though Williams isn't there, I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire could be really good for them. And for that reason, I have the Chiefs being 13-3, 14-2. Patrick Mahomes is only getting better. That offensive defense is still the same. They somehow had enough money to bring everyone back. So they'll be really, really good. The Raiders, they brought in some interesting pieces with the Rams middle linebacker, Corey Littleton. They drafted Henry Ruggs with their pick. I don't really like their O-line. I think Derek Carr is still not a great quarterback. I know, people are hoping he could have a bounce back year, but I really don't see it. I still don't love that wide receiver corps, even with Ruggs. I think Darren Waller is great. The defense is pretty solid, which is why I have them going 6-10, 7-9, but I just don't love their offense. The Chargers, with Tyrod Taylor, they're not going to be a great team. I like Keenan Allen. I like Mike Williams. Their O-line's not terrible. I think Austin Eckler is a really good running back, and I think he'll show that, with the starting job, he'll play really, really well. But Derwin James got hurt again. That's really going to hurt them. I just don't like their quarterback position right now, or situation right now. So I had them going like 6-10, 7-9. The Miami Dolphins, they probably made the most noise. They signed Byron Jones, which was great. They had a lot of picks. They got help on their tackle. They drafted Tua. They helped on that defense with the cornerbacks. So I think they could be a pretty solid team. I don't think they're going to be great. They have a lot of young guys, though, and they're going to be a really good team in the future, especially when Tua starts getting some reps with Fitzpatrick still starting right now. They won't be a great team, but I could see them going 6-10, 7-9. The Patriots, I think with Cam Newton there, they lost a lot of pieces on the defensive side, which is going to hurt them. But I think Cam Newton there is going to help. I think he's going to be better than Stidham. I think it's pretty obvious. But the Patriots lost a lot of pieces, so I think Newton could have a nice year for the Patriots. And I know Bill Belichick is an absolute mastermind. But I think they could go 7-9, 8-9. I just don't see them having a great season, especially with all the pieces they lost in free agency. Van Noy, Collins, etc., etc. We're down to the last three teams. The Jets, they're whatever. I think the loss of Jamal Adams is going to hurt, but, I don't think they're ready to contend anyway, and I think Jamal is just going to get more angry and angry as the longer he's staying there. I'm glad they got some O-line help for Donald. I think Donald could prove that he's still, a starting caliber quarterback, and, they shouldn't give up on him yet. The wide receiver corps, I still really don't like it. I don't like, signing Jamison Crowder is not going to solve your issues. And, with Mosley not playing this year, Jamal Adams on it, they're going to be a little rough on the defensive end. So they'll probably go 5-11, 6-10. They just aren't the greatest team. The next team is the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they could have a really good year this year. I'm going to be honest. I love Big Ben. And I think, him coming back is really going to help that team. If you are starting Duck Hodges, it's not going to end well for you. They're kind of fully healthy. Juju was out a little bit. James Conner's out a little bit. The offensive line's fully intact now. I like that Eric Ebron pickup. I think Deontay Johnson could have a breakout year for them. I think Juju's going to really benefit from Ben being back. And that defense is the best in the league, let's be real. They have a very, very good defense. Fitzpatrick, Watt, etc., etc. So Cameron Hayward. So they're going to be a very good team, I think, this year. I expect them to go 9-7, 10-6. The last team is the Tennessee Titans. They didn't change that much up. I like the Jarrell Casey trade, only a 7th-round pick. It's completely worth it. Re-signed Derrick Henry. I like the Jadeveon Clowney pickup. I think the Titans could be pretty good this year. They made it to the AFC Championship last year. No one expected that. Let's be real. But I don't know if they're going to repeat that, especially I think Lamar is going to prove that he could be a playoff winning quarterback. But yeah, guys, I think the Titans could have a pretty good year, 9-7-ish. The offense is pretty much still intact. A.J. Brown's only getting better. They got some offensive line help in the draft. And defense is still really good. I think that, Jadeveon Clowney is really good as well, and I think he'll really help that team, especially if he's, even if he's only there for a year, he'll still really help for that 1 year. So those are my NFL team predictions. I think I'm just going to decide to do the NFL award predictions for next week's video because this video is a little long, and I don't want to keep you guys here for an hour just listening to me talk about the NFL teams. So, yeah, guys. That's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. This is episode 40. I can't believe we've already had 40 episodes on this channel. I thank you guys so much for your support. I really, really appreciate it. And yeah, guys, that's it. I'll see you guys next week. Maybe I'll do a quiz because I know you guys really like those quizzes. And I'll be back with the NFL award predictions in another video. That's all for me today. I'm excited for football. I hope you guys are as well. Let me know who's your favorite team down below. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.